It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
And we are back for a brand new cup of coffee with Wild Will.
And I'm Uncle Chris, of course.
And we're here at Slumberland at the lake. And if you notice, our set looks a little different. That's because it's the Flash Inventory Sale. Not only 20% off white tags, you get an additional 10% off if it's in stock. And stuff's flying out. So make sure you come down to Slumberland at the lake this week. Take advantage of that. And their tent sale right out there in the parking lot still going on. But we have an action-packed show for you this week on a cup of coffee. Most people know about the mall development. There's a proposed TIF, and so the sell of the mall, kind of a hang-up, and we're going to break that down a little bit and try to explain what's going on, right?
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. This is a huge thing for Osage Beach and the whole lake area. Remember how big that outlet mall used to be?
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll be coming back, but there's a whole lot going on with that.
Indeed, and then also you guys saw the headlines, fatal accident here where NASCAR driver Clint Boyer actually hit a pedestrian who ended up dying here at the lake in early June. We'll talk about that. Food trucks, we talk about them a lot over the last few months.
You like food trucks, right?
Well, I mean, our big food truck connoisseur is KB.
Yeah.
I just like food. Obviously, you know that by looking at me.
Me too.
But they were allowed to come to the Bagnell Dam Strip for certain events. So you look at other areas surrounding. Eldon still had not allowed food trucks until as of late. We'll tell you about that. Plus this week's Hometown Heroes. We'll update you on the Stanley Cup and so much more. But first, got to hear from our man Daryl Cunningham from Slumberland at the Lake.
Hey everyone, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. Right now we have a flash sale going on with all in-stock inventory and an additional 10% off. This morning when I got to the store, there were 2 semi-loads of furniture to stock us up. So come check everything out. Slumberland Furniture at the Lake, where we're bringing happy home.
Yeah, there are deals to be had, so make your plans to come into Slumberland this week. That sale goes into next weekend, so you don't want to miss that. All right, so the Outlet Mall, saw the stories, they met on it, a lot of uncertainty as to where this stands, but I did want to first mention what a TIF was, because there's so much uncertainty and lack of knowledge when it comes to that. And TIF stands for Tax Increment Financing, which consists of bonds issued by the city, which the city would not be responsible for paying should the project fail, and various other tax incentives. Now those are combined with private capital, and those are the means which the developers plan to finance the project. But before they buy the mall from Simon, that being the Fosters, they say they must have a TIF plan approved by the city. The developers have presented letters from financiers indicating willingness to participate in financing the project pending approval of the TIF. And so that's kind of the situation we're in right now. Was the TIF Commission heard public comment and had their meeting on the 16th following the 14th meeting. You saw the headline on the 15th. They met again on the 16th, and that was for the TIF Commission to put together their proposed TIF plan to suggest that or recommend that to the Board of Aldermen. And now the Board of Aldermen on the 27th will vote whether or not to accept that TIF plan as well as the redevelopment plan. Now I talked to Gina Woods yesterday, who's the city administrator, and this all happened back in March, that the application came to the board for a proposed TIF plan. Now part of the agreement with this, with the developer, because there's also a redevelopment plan. Now the TIF handles the finance and how you're going to fund it. Then you have the development or redevelopment plan, which is how are you going to develop the land, build the buildings, how is it going to be, how is it going to fit into zoning and all of those different things. But part of the agreement with the developer and the city was the city will hire independent consultants, one of those being the municipal financial advisor. Now the reason this is important is this person makes sure that they're being fiscally sound and responsible and diligent on behalf of the taxpayers. The cool part about these independent consultants, which there's 3 or 4 they have to hire, the last one was this municipal financial advisor. They had to do that in order to go forward with the TIF planning, but the developer is going to pay back the cost of these independent contractors or consultants once the project comes to fruition, meaning it's not going to come from taxpayer dollars. But so that's kind of what I got from Gina Woods yesterday. But as far as to encompass the whole project with legacy development and this new proposed project at the mall, what can you tell us, Chris?
It's interesting. I think from what I understand, and it's a little convoluted, it's kind of hard to understand how this is all playing out, and it's a very emotional thing. I mean, at some of those meetings, full houses, people showing up, really want to get something done with this outlet mall, and that's a good idea. But as you move forward, you want to make sure you're doing it right.
Correct.
You know, you want to make sure that the local municipality and tax people are not getting taken advantage of and stuff like that. And I think that's why, you know, some people are being pretty cautious about this. And you talked about the TIF, the tax increment financing. So, so some local money, some tax money would go to help the developers to develop all of this, which is fine as long as the local community knows what is happening, what you know, is going to be developed in all this. So it sounds like they're taking care of this in stages. First, they have to figure out the financing, this TIF, you know, and get that approved, and then they move on to what they're actually going to do, you know, what they're going to develop. Because in the story it says the developers, locally owned Horizon Development, and that is the Foster family, and then a very well-known development company out of Kansas City, Legacy Development. They have not publicly revealed the details of their plans of what they're going to build yet, and that will cost, from what we're told, about $186 million. Now, we have had some pretty interesting plans, pictures put out there,
renderings,
like
yeah,
by Lake Expo, and those all look pretty great. You know, it looks fantastic. But as for what the developers have not officially told us what they're going to develop yet, and of course that's pretty important. You know, we'll want to know that. So I don't think, and part of the other issue is apparently at the end of June, Simon, who currently owns the outlet mall, says, you know, the deal that they have on the table will go away, you know, with the developers. So the developers are pushing to get this done. But then you look at it from a business standpoint. If Simon's got a deal to sell this to the developers, why would they just throw it away at the end of the month? You know, so you just kind of wonder what's going on with all that.
Yeah, and what's wild is, like, we all have memories, and maybe you being new to Lake don't, but we have memories of the outlet mall being full of great stores, national chains, and there's 110 stores at the mall, not counting the movie theater that sits vacant. Currently, only 27 are in operation, which makes up about a 24.5%. So a fourth of the stores are filled, whereas 3/4 are vacant.
Pretty sad. And the restaurant that was there is gone, I believe, and stuff like that. It's a shell of itself.
And, you know, the Fosters spoke about their vision for the mall. They mentioned a zip line course, outdoor dining, hiking trails, scenic lighting, and even affordable housing, along with expanding the retail brands represented of the mall. And Chris Foster, he said, we've had interest from a number of national brands that are currently here that would like to be here. But you bring up an interesting point, because there does seem to be a lot of support and a lot of pressure from every which angle to accept this TIF. As a matter of fact, at the meeting on the 14th, there was an outcry from supporters in the TIF commission there. Why would we not vote on this tonight? Greg Hasty, who's the chairman of the TIF commission, also our presiding commissioner in Camden County, he says, everyone in the room raise your hand if you're for the TIF. Everyone raised their hand. He said, anyone opposed, raise your hand. Nobody raised their hand. That doesn't mean that the people that attended this meeting should speak for everybody. So when it goes to a vote, this will happen on the 27th, and the aldermen will vote on not whether or not this whole project comes to fruition, whether or not they accept the proposed TIF plan as the TIF commission put it together and recommends that they go forward with. There is a possibility that the Board of Aldermen for the city of Osage Beach would want to make amendments or revisions to this proposed TIF recommendation or plan. But what seems weird is we just talked about 110 stores, only 27 are in operation. Simon has made it very clear they have no intention of investing money into this project, revamping. I think that was an issue with a lot of the tenants. It was high rent, high monthly cost, but they weren't putting a lot of resources, they weren't putting a lot of work in there. And so it does seem weird, Chris, when part of the agreement between Simon and Horizon, or the Foster family, is you have to have an approved TIF plan with the city of Osage Beach, and their contract, or their proposed contract, is set to expire on the 29th of June. Now there's murmurings, and even in this Lake Expo article, that should the TIF plan not be approved or accepted by the 29th, they're willing to just pull out and cease operations, which makes the only reason that would make sense, Chris, is if they had outside aggressive interest from another buyer that wasn't going to rely on the TIF, because it's not Simon that needs the TIF, it's the Foster family and Horizon that needs the TIF to pay for this development. And so for Simon, if they don't get that TIF by the 29th, wouldn't you want to be a little patient opposed to just pull out of basically a done deal and cease operations? So you have 27 that are in operation. You're going to miss out on 27 monthly rents from these businesses. You're not going to get the sell price. So it does kind of raise some questions, Chris, on it almost seems like it's being forced. And I'm going to say it, but anything that has Greg Hasty's name written on it, you'd have to ask, is this legit? Is this a backdoor deal? And so there are some questions about this. I know it seems like a real positive, but when you read into this, what does Simon have to gain by pulling out of this deal? It would be leverage, or it could be used as leverage for Horizon and the Foster family to say there's a deadline, put pressure on the city of Osage Beach. Let's accept this proposed plan by the TIF Commission. But if it doesn't make sense and it's not them being diligent, I don't think that deadline, it could be coming from Simon. Maybe it is, maybe there's another interested party, but there will be more to figure out from this. The 27th of this month, which is a Monday coming up, is going to be when this goes to vote by the Board of Aldermen. And so they accept this. Looks like the deal will go through between Simon and the Horizon Development and the Foster family. But heaven forbid, on Monday, if this doesn't pass or this isn't accepted, I will be very eager to see, does Simon really pull out of this contract and cease operations at the outlet mall? Because as a businessman, that makes zero sense.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think we all want something to happen with this mall. We want Horizon to buy this and to develop it, to do a good thing. We just want to make sure, and I'm guessing that's what, why the aldermen are meeting on Monday to do it all and everything, look at it all, make sure everything is fair and square, doing the right thing, and then I think once this gets taken care of, the TIF, the money to finance it all, then roll out the plan to see what's going to happen. Let's get her started. Let's get it going. We all want that to happen. We just want it to happen in the right way. Now, the Foster family, great family locally for so many years. Buford Foster helped build the lake area, He was behind the Chamber of Commerce. He was behind the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Buford Foster was a great, powerful man to help make the Lake of the Ozarks the Lake of the Ozarks. And the family has carried on that tradition, Chris Foster and Dr. Dan Foster. In fact, they're on the Community Spotlight show this week talking about family history, which is awesome. So the family has been great for this community. Hopefully this is another part of that great legacy, but you have to go through all the channels, the due diligence, make sure it's all being done right, and let's hope that's the case, and let's hope we get that new outlet mall going out there.
Yeah, it'd be a lot more than a mall too. I mean, the reason that they want to get this, one of the reasons too, because once the TIF is accepted or the plan can move forward, then they can start being a little more aggressive and reveal some of those plans. You don't want to roll out a plan for a $200 million development if the TIF doesn't pass and you still buy the mall. I mean, there is a clause that if they don't get the TIF, they're pulling out of the deal as well. But the 27th, Monday, we will find out more, and then on next week's Cup of Coffee with us, we will catch you up on what we know following Monday's meeting.
And just a little personal note, for people who are always against local financing, I understand what you're thinking, but sometimes you have to have that to help the community, right? And just, like when NFL teams are building new stadiums. I was in Dallas when the Cowboys wanted to build their new stadium. The city of Dallas said, no, we're not giving, any money to help you build a stadium in the city of Dallas. So the city of Arlington did, and they're just reaping billions of dollars in benefit because they jumped in that the city of Dallas missed out on. So sometimes it's very wise to jump in and do that. It just has to be done right.
That's a terrible argument. You're never going to convince me that the building of these new multi-billion-dollar stadiums and arenas makes sense. When they tore Busch Stadium down in St. Louis to build the new Busch Stadium in the exact same place, made me sick.
You might say it was
Nothing wrong with
Bush
the old
League.
Busch Stadium. It was Bush League. Pun intended. All right, so we love when we get to see national celebrities hit the lake. You remember back in COVID, Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton were down here.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen them make appearances. Jason Bateman with Ozark. A lot of even have lake.
You're good
homes.
friends with Jason Bateman.
I wouldn't
Ozark.
say that. I did get to give him a breath mint one time, so if that qualifies me, then I am his good friend. But Clint Boyer, really a sad headline. You guys all saw it happen back on June. He was down here at the Lake of the Ozarks, and he struck a pedestrian with his vehicle on the exit ramp off Highway 54 in Lake Ozark, according to police. It took a while. Nearly 2 weeks later, Lake Ozark Police Department says they have completed their investigation into the incident and have cleared Boyer of any wrongdoing. It was 47-year-old Mary Simmons had been walking along the exit ramp, allegedly against the flow of traffic in the driving area when Boyer's vehicle struck her, according to the police report. Boyer immediately stopped the vehicle after the collision and contacted authorities. He didn't appear impaired, and his roadside blood alcohol content test showed no alcohol. He blew to .00. So, however, investigators allegedly found a bag containing a crystalline substance among Simmons' personal items at the scene, according to the chief. Wondering why someone might be walking along that ramp, Launderville Police Chief for City of Lake Ozark said police thought perhaps Simmons had been staying at the nearby Riverview RV Park. They visited the campground, and Launderville says they found a friend Simmons had been staying with there. He says the friend acknowledged they had both been drinking and used meth earlier that day. Sad story. At the end of the day, a woman loses her life, whether she was under the influence or not, and now an individual like Clint Boyer has to live with this the rest of his life. And I know that he is very shaken,
really tough
over this. It's impacted him. It's impacted his family, and really a sad deal. Because we're in St. Louis, I believe, for a race, and Boyer doesn't race anymore. He's a Fox News or Fox Sports analyst. He does NASCAR for networks, and he was there to call the race. I think it was in St. Louis, down at the lake, probably has ties down here, and, you know, that's a tragic night.
And apparently this was Highway 54 going west at the 242 exit, right? And if she's walking against traffic out in the middle of the road, basically, is what they're saying in the driving area, then obviously he's not at fault. Apparently took a breathalyzer, no signs of being, impaired where, unfortunately the pedestrian was. It's amazing how quiet the investigators were able to keep this story, because we didn't hear about it for a couple of weeks until they did the investigation and then put it out. So, probably for good reason, because
100%. When you have a name like that involved in an investigation, had they released that week the investigation was going on, the outside influence, the media here locally, the national media, what they would have done to influence or even get in the way of the investigation. So I saw some comments say, oh, if that was a normal human, that would have been on the news the next day. Well, you're probably right, but it wasn't a normal human. It was 10-time champion Clint Boyer. But sad deal, any way you look at it. There is one thing that was positive. The lady lost her life, and it would have been tragic had Clint been under the influence or something, because how many times does someone go to dinner or out with friends and you have a couple on your way home, good enough to drive, you think, and that happens. Had that been the case, Clint would be looking at probably losing his career and his life. But the ultimate sad thing that took place is 47-year-old Mary Simmons did lose her life. So rest in peace to her. Sad story. We had to cover that. All right, next story, food trucks. You and I both love food.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I love food too much, man.
I'm actually going to have to unbutton one of these buttons here before the show's over. But Eldon now allowing food trucks, and I was able to talk to James McMullen. He is the owner with Tastebuds food truck in Eldon, and he was talking with local business owners, and he found out a couple of years ago that there was a pizza truck that had been coming to Eldon, and the locals absolutely loved it. Great ingredients, great service, fun experience to go to the food truck, but Pizza Hut didn't exactly love that because it was competition, and so they were able to get food trucks banned. So they agreed to outlaw them, and what James said was false information. He said, so he didn't go through the same since they didn't go through the same health inspections and pay the same taxes, he kind of felt like that was where the problem lied. So he's been able to educate local business owners that they go through a much stiffer process to operate as far as health inspections, as well as the same process for any local operating business, such as business license, paying taxes on city water and sewage. So the Eldon City Council requested that they start a petition to hear what the town would want. So James and his wife printed flyers and signature sheets, and they went door to door throughout the entire town of Eldon. They met with business owners, and they got the whole town involved. They got tons of signatures, and twice a month they attended the city council meetings for numerous months. They got up to the podium, they spoke for lengths of time. They met with the mayor, the city aldermen, and they even took local skeptical businesses owners and turned them to 4 food trucks by telling them the need and why they were there. They were able to convince the council that the council, the city of Eldon, was actually violating the constitutional rights of the food trucks and that denying them the right to reap from the fruits of their labor. So they had a food truck put on the agenda, and the ordinance was written and revised, and it passed by a vote 4 yeses, 2 noes. So food trucks now allowed in the city of Eldon, and Tastebuds food truck you see there's a picture of their menu, have some pretty cool stuff, and there's their truck. Now, their next event, of course, they're all over Eldon all the time. Their next event will be July 1st at Fulton State Hospital for Healthcare Appreciation from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. But it's a great thing in food trucks. You've noticed over the last few years, not really even just here at the lake, but nationally, have really taken off.
Yeah, some people are really into them. I know it's kind of a give and take because Lake Ozark recently went through this in the last year or two. Do we allow food trucks down on the strip? Will it take away from our local restaurants? How do the local restaurants feel about that? So there's an interesting give and take there with that whole thing. And again, like with the mall, you just want to make sure you're looking at everything, you're doing things right, you're not hurting the local businesses, you're kind of helping everybody in the process, and hopefully that's what's happening.
Yeah, and playing on a level field, and the Board of Aldermen have passed that 4 yeses, 2 noes. So congratulations to James McMullen and Tastebuds food trucks, as well as all the food trucks in Eldon and the surrounding areas. All right, it's time for our weekly Hometown Heroes, presented by the good folks at Central Ozarks Medical Center. And this guy, I was going to say Mike Clayton.
Yeah.
Does it get any better?
We love Mike. Just love him. He is so deserving of this recognition. This guy, I don't know if this guy even ever sleeps, you know?
I mean, you wouldn't think so.
He's a star on the radio. People around the lake have grown up listening to Mike, and then he goes out, takes another job helping Wonderland Camp. He's just a nice, wonderful guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his career accolades, like you said, radio DJ for Mix 92.7, Polar Plunge MC, Cops on Top every year gets up there. He MCs the Jesus Prom at 9th Street Christian Church, where he goes to church, super involved there. Family man, him and his wife Angel have been married for many years, 2 incredibly great kids. Jack, of course, we know, we've seen him on Young Guns with KB, great entrepreneur. Daughter Faith, excelling in college. Shootout Hall of Fame MC. He's the Silent Auction Shootout co-chair, pageant host, Wonderland Camp director of fun development, community man extraordinaire. But here's what really is the epitome of Mike Clayton. About the 2-year anniversary of this was on the 17th. You'll see my post here. And this really happened. I'm going to read it as I posted it June 17th of 2020. Something special happened today. So at the time I was working about 16 hours every day, and my yard was getting so long it desperately needed mowing. To make matters worse, my brand new mower had gotten water in the carburetor and had broken, so I was unable to mow for 2 weeks. So I was at a shootout meeting, and I was telling my buddy, Mike Clayton, how I have to get home and figure out how I can borrow a mower and get this knocked out. Well, I grabbed some food after our shootout meeting, and on my way home, I get a text from Andrew saying, "Why is the Mike Clayton mowing your grass?" To which I nearly started crying. Mike and his son Jack decided to take it upon themselves to lighten my load, and I came home to a mowed and weed-eaten lawn. I didn't even know what to say. A stand-up guy who absolutely offered one of the most selfless, kind, and thoughtful gestures I've ever received thank you, Mike. Him and Jack did a great job, and that post got a lot of interaction. But he went from the shootout meeting where he was volunteering from Sunrise Beach, rushed to Eldon, puts his mower in his Prius, drives over with his son Jack, and is out there mowing and weed eating. That is such an act of selflessness because he saw a buddy that was, had a need. He didn't try to just give me a mower or recommend somebody. He rushed home and got his son and went and took care of it. And that kind of thing is who Mike Clayton is. You won't meet an individual who has anything negative to say about Mike Clayton. Not only probably the best radio personality at the lake over the last 20 years, but all of these community events, all of the charity, all of the fundraising, the Wonderland Camp, and just an amazing husband, amazing father. So this week's Hometown Hero, presented by Central Ozarks Medical Center, is our man, Mike Clayton. We love you, buddy. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, and he deserves it.
Yeah,
really deserves that.
Doubt about it. So we did want to get into, real quick, the World Cup. You saw they're coming to KC for 2026. Of course, there's a lot of, when you first see that, it can be a little misleading, right? Because you're like, oh my goodness, well, there's 12 different host locations, 11 cities in the United States, Kansas City being one of them. Then, of course, you see all the other big sports towns. There's 3 cities in Mexico and 2 in Canada. But in 2026, the World Cup will make an appearance in Kansas City. I know that's got people fired up all over the place.
And Kansas City's always been a big soccer place, American pro soccer and all that stuff. They've always had a great legacy, so it's great to see them get some of this action. The World Cup is a big deal, man. This is probably the biggest sporting event in the world. It blows away the Super Bowl because, to the rest of the world, soccer is it.
Soccer is so fun and exciting.
Yeah. But and so we have our own football. We like our football, but to the rest of the world, soccer's huge. World Cup is huge, and so this will be good.
I'd rather be in a room with 12 black bears and play dead in the middle of the room than have to sit through one soccer, what do you call it, inning, period, half? It's so
halves,
boring.
2 halves, 45 minutes.
So boring, but huge win for Kansas City, and big shout out to our buddy Pat Carroll with Gallup Maps in Kansas City. He's real excited. Another quick story, got to make it quick. Road surfacing is set to begin this week on Route 54 through Osage Beach, according to MoDOT. So it started on Monday, and that'll be happening in the evenings, correct?
Yep, both lanes. Both ways on 54. They say that's expected to go through the end of August. So be ready to be slowed down. And you wonder, okay, we're in the middle of summer at the Lake of the freaking Ozarks. Why are you doing it now, right?
I think I figured that out. We had another story. We asked that question about the busy season. When it's cold, it doesn't lay the same, and certain surfaces don't settle and cure the same, and so they need to certain temperatures, I believe, and so that does limit them. But yeah, I asked myself the same question, like, are you crazy? All right, real quick, couple of really cool events. First, COMC has their community party in Laurie on Saturday for their new clinic that just opened on Monday. Ribbon cutting at 9:45, the event from 10 to 2. They got free food, games, all kinds of great stuff for you. Come on out, Lake TV will be there. And I think this is cool right here. How about a slap fight championship happening right here at Lake of the Ozarks? It is the slap fight Summer Smash, the Bell vs. the Hulk interim super heavyweight championship this Saturday at Lake of the Ozarks.
Those are crazy, man.
Yeah, and you can see right now on your screen, I sent Andrew a couple clips. You can see, if you're wondering what slap fighting is, this is what it is. These guys are absolutely nuts. It'll be at the Inn at the Grand Glaze. Doors open at 6. The first fight is 7. I might try to go out to that because that looks pretty fun.
I'm out on that.
Well, real quick, Lightning, they get in the win column for Stanley Cup Game 3. Pat Maroon, a goal and an assist. Lightning take care of business. But more importantly, you mentioned the Foster family, part 2 of their series, back on the Lake TV Community Spotlight. To catch us up a little further on the Outlet Mall and the TIF situation, Mayor Michael Harmison is going to be on What's Burning with KB this week, and the monthly market update with the O'Sullivan Bruce Group debuts this Saturday at 6 and 9 a.m. right here on Lake TV. And if you want to check out Bobby Spice, he's got a really cool Osage Beach Farmers Market feature this week and weekend at the lake. But outside of that, that's going to wrap up for this week. For Uncle Chris, I'm Wild Will. We'll see you guys next week.